Hey, how's it going, everybody? Tim here, back with another video. And today I wanted to talk once again about seasonal work, and I wanted to answer a question that I've gotten from a few viewers here on YouTube as well as on some of my other social media platforms. A couple different people have asked me. They said, Tim, the seasonal work seems like something I might be interested in, but how do I go about getting my first seasonal job? What do I look for? And other questions along that line. So I wanted to make today's video and go over some tips and techniques and some tricks, things you might want to be on the lookout for when you're looking for your first seasonal job. Now, if you've ever watched any of my videos on seasonal work, you'll know that I am going to recommend for finding your seasonal job, coolworks.com. I'm not sponsored by them or affiliated with them in any way. They're just a really good company. They've been super nice to me, sent me free merchandise and stuff over the years. And their website is where I get all my jobs from. And I can honestly say their website has changed my life by allowing me access to these jobs I do. So I definitely recommend using coolworks.com to find your first seasonal job. I'll leave a link in the description box below. Now, when you're on Coolworks, I think there's a couple different things you should ask yourself, or even before you get on there. Is there anywhere in the U.S. that you've always kind of wanted to visit? Or you can ask yourself both questions, or one, or is there any type of job you've kind of always wanted to do? And you want to make sure that when you're thinking about places to visit, that they're obviously like touristy kind of deals, because that's what most seasonal jobs are, as well as to the job. Like, is there any job you really want to do that you think you might be able to do in a tourist location, or at a tourist attraction, or in a place that a lot of people go certain times of the year? I know for me, when I first started out looking into seasonal work, I found it through a video talking about working in national parks. So I had on my mind, I want to visit a national park. I'd never been to a national park. This just wasn't a thing in the environment I grew up in. Nobody went to national parks. I just think black folks as a whole, we just really don't do national parks, which is very sad. But I want to visit a national park. One of the cool things about Coolworks is they have a tab when you go to their page and it says find a job, and it has national parks as one of the tabs. Clicked on that, and then it was just a matter of what national park do I want to visit. I ended up choosing Yellowstone. But that's just an example of if there's places you wanted to visit, like say national parks, or maybe you really like to ski and there's a ski resort you've always wanted to go visit and haven't been able to, or maybe there's just a travel destination on the East Coast somewhere in Maine or somewhere like that you've always wanted to visit. These are the type of places that have seasonal jobs, and if you're really looking for a first job, it really helps if it's somewhere you'd like to go. So try to find a job at a place where you've always wanted to go. Or secondly, think of a job maybe you've always wanted to do and never maybe thought you could make a career out of it, but you've always been like, you know what, I've always wanted to work at an amusement park. That's one of mine. It's going to happen one of these seasons. But I've always wanted to work at an amusement park, or I've always wanted to be, work on a dude ranch and wrangle horses. I don't even know what that means, but it's an actual job. I see it all the time. Or I've always wanted to work front desk at, a 5-star hotel. I don't know. But find a job that you might have always wanted to do that is tied in with hospitality or tourism. Search for that. Once again, like Coolworks has a search feature, you can search for anything. But basically, for your first job, I recommend going somewhere you've always wanted to go, or doing a job you always wanted to do. That way, the adjustment, I think, will be easier if you are just like overjoyed at where you're at. Like, there was some adjustment period when I got to Yellowstone, but I was just so like enamored by Yellowstone that it didn't matter. It didn't matter I had a weird roommate while I was there. It didn't matter all this other stuff. Like every day I could see Old Faithful from work. I saw Old Faithful go off hundreds of times. Like, that was enough for me. So that's why I recommend that. Now, some of the other things you want to look for when you're looking for your first seasonal job. Keep in mind, a lot of seasonal jobs are off the beaten path. They're in areas sometimes that are many, many miles and hours away from major cities, a lot of the stuff you're used to. Keep that in mind when you're looking at jobs, potential jobs. Read the whole listing. The more the company has listed about their job and about their company and about the location you'll be working at, the better. Read all of that. If they have a website, go to that website, go to the career section, see if there's more stuff you can read about the company. You're going to want to know stuff like where it's actually located. Do you need a car to work there? Are there, if you don't bring a car, are there shuttles that'll take you to town regularly? What kind of activities do they have? There's so many little things that if you've never done a seasonal job before, you might not think about, but these are the things you're going to want to know, because it is really easy to get out to a job that's in the middle of nowhere and get pretty kind of lonely for civilization sometimes. Some seasonal jobs are close to cities, it's not a problem. Other ones have shuttles. Some are way out there. This is the type of stuff you need to know. I, for example, had no idea that from the Old Faithful location to the outside edges of Yellowstone National Park was 2 hours, and then it was like another 2 hours to like a major city. It's like 3 or 4 hours to get to Bozeman from Yellowstone. Didn't realize how far away it was. Kind of should have done that research. Also, you want to look for things like, is there a post office nearby? Little stuff like that. But definitely you want to know where the location is, how far away it is from civilization, things like that. For me, if I can get an address, these days I hop on Google Maps and I bring up the actual street view, if they have it, of where I'm going to be working, and I just kind of roam around, on Google Maps, see what's up, no surprises. Another big thing you're going to want to know and look into, maybe even look into this before where the location is the housing. Do they offer housing? Unless you have like your van you're going to live in or an RV, you're probably going to want the housing. Do they offer housing? What type of housing is it? Is it single room, which a lot of them aren't? If you find a job with single rooms, jump on it. Is it dorm? Is it cabins? Just because it's not single room, some of them you'll have one roommate. Some places you could have up to like 3 other roommates. Situations like that you really need to look into. So check on that, find out about the housing. This is one of the things that if you take this step and apply and you get a phone interview, ask about it. Be pretty candid. How many people are typically in a room? How old is the housing? Is there Wi-Fi? Is there cable? Another thing like cell phone service. All these things, if you can find it in the listing, while you read the whole listing, cool. Look for these things. But if you can't, you can always ask them in the phone interview. But be on the lookout for that. You also want to know about meals. Me personally, I like a place that has the housing and the meals included, because it allows me to save the maximum amount of money. If there's housing and meals, I don't have to spend any money if I don't want to. A lot of times I do, because I get to wanting stuff they don't have on the menu, but that allows me to save the maximum amount of money, so I look for that. I'm also starting to like places where they have housing, but then they don't give you food, but you get like 50% off in the cafeteria or the restaurant where all the guests eat. I like places like that too, because even though I'm spending money, I'm getting to pick and choose what I want to eat. A lot of times when the meals are provided in like employee dining room, you get no choice over what you eat. So, little things like that. You might also want to look at how many employees the company employs. On CoolWorks, one of the cool things on each listing, a lot of times the companies will say how many employees they employ every season. I'm starting to realize that I like the smaller places a little better that might employ 100 people or less. Some places employ thousands of people. It's just me, I'm such an introvert. I kind of like not having to interact with so many people on a daily basis, because one of the things about seasonal work is you see the same people every single day. So if there's 250 people at your location, you're going to see 250 people every single day. That's a lot of people to say hi to on a daily basis. Especially there'll be some people that don't like you and you don't like them, even if you're a super nice guy like me. And so you're gonna have to see that person every single day. So depends. If you're a person who loves being around a lot of people, maybe go for a company that has 100, 200 people. If you like not being around a lot of people, you're an introvert like me, there's companies out there that only have like 12 people. So just kind of look at stuff like that to figure out, what you think would be the best fit. And one of the things about seasonal work is if you get somewhere and it's not a great fit, 4 months from now, you're out of there. And you'll just know next season, okay, this is what's better for me. But just something to think about. Also, too, a big thing with seasonal work, there are lots of seasonal jobs out there. Lots of different positions that you can take at these seasonal jobs. I feel like a lot of people from the questions I've been getting feel like they need to have a job that ties into kind of what's on their resume. You don't have to do that. Seasonal work isn't a place where they're really going to delve deep into your resume and be like, well, you did this before, so maybe you should do this. A lot of times they're just trying to plug holes Working in housekeeping, I feel like that's one of the places they'll just put anybody. You can have no experience, no work experience, no housekeeping experience. As long as you're breathing, a lot of times they'll put you in housekeeping. So don't think that you're like, well, I don't have any experience in hospitality, things like that. Don't worry about it. They will find a job for you somewhere if they think you're a good employee. If they think you're a decent employee, some of these places have huge rosters to fill. So as long as you sound halfway decent in the phone interview, you got the job. So don't think you have to have experience. Apply for anything that you think sounds cool, and if they say those positions are already filled, because a lot of the cool positions fill up quick. If they say that position's already filled, a lot of times they'll find you somewhere else. But also, don't just take anything. If they offer you, grounds and you hate grounds, or maintenance and you hate maintenance, or housekeeping and you hate cleaning up after other people, don't take it. Find another job. And that goes to my next point. When you're looking for your first seasonal job, I recommend putting in as many applications as possible at all the places that look cool to you. I know the HR people won't want to hear me say this, but I recommend putting in as many applications as you can at the places you like. If you see 10 jobs you like, put in 10 applications. I think a lot of people put in like one application at a job that looks really cool, and then when they don't call back, they're just like, oh, they don't want me. Seasonal work isn't for me. I think my first time out, I ended up picking Yellowstone, and that was like one of the first places I applied for, but I applied for like 10, 15 positions. Most of them, as I've said many times, called me back. I took 5 or 6 interviews, ended up going with Yellowstone. I recommend doing the same thing. Put in as many applications, as many places look cool to you, all over the country, whatever. Take the interviews. You can even tell them, I'm not sold. Can you give me, after the interview, if they offer you a position, hey, I'm not sold. I got a few more interviews to take. Can I call you back in a week? Let you know. They'll usually give you a time period by which they need to hear from you. Take that time, take some more interviews, figure out what you want to do. You can be picky in seasonal work, is what I'm trying to say here. Don't just think you got to jump at the first job that comes to you. You can be picky. If they offer you something you don't want, you don't have to take it. Somebody will offer you something that you want. Trust me. There's lots of jobs out here. Go to anybody's videos about seasonal work. I guarantee they tell you the same thing. There's lots of jobs out here. You can find the one you want. Or what a lot of people do is they get their foot in the door with a company. If there's a company, here's another thing too. There are some companies out there that are pretty big, got a pretty good reputation. If you're doing research on seasonal work, you'll come across some of them. You may see a company that has a lot of properties and a lot of different places you want to work at. If you might have to take a position with that company doing something you might not want to do for one season just to get your foot in the door, so then you can go somewhere else. Because some of the bigger companies have lots of properties all over the US, some all over the world. If you can get your foot in the door and complete a season, you can pretty much write your own ticket for the next season. Once they see that you're a previous employee who got a good recommendation, that puts you at the top of the pile. So you can pretty much, carte blanche, write your own ticket, whatever job you want, wherever you want. A lot of people, one season, then they're in management the next season. I personally don't like management. That's why I'm not in it, even though I'm thinking I might have to get into it here shortly. But a lot of people work one season, they grind it out. Next season, they're a manager. Lots of perks that come with manager. A lot of places give you your own room once you're a manager. That's why I'm going to have to end up doing it. I'm getting too old to have roommates. But, it's another thing you can look for is specific companies you might want to work for. But overall, like I was saying, don't just take any job that comes along. You can be selective. Worst case scenario, if the right job doesn't come along, just go back to one of the not so bad ones and be like, all right, I'll come work for y'all. So, those are just some tips, I thought about when finding your first seasonal job. Definitely number one thing, just get on CoolWorks, look around. Go to the search by state feature and just, go to a state that looks cool. I highly recommend for the summer Alaska. I tell everybody, it's one of the most beautiful places I've been. There's tons of seasonal jobs in Alaska. Go on CoolWorks, go to the Alaska page, look at the jobs they have. You'd be surprised at some of the weird stuff you can do in Alaska. Pretty much all of it's entry level. Or if that's not your cup of tea, every state has a tab. Check it out. Check out the different national parks. I guarantee there's national parks in this country you've never heard of. I still see some now, and I'm like, really? Where's that at? That's in America? But anyway, yeah, just have fun with it. Do your research. Look at different jobs. I guarantee you, if you really want to do this seasonal work thing, you'll be able to find something that tickles your fancy. And before I go, always have to talk about money. I don't recommend going in looking for the top dollar jobs. I don't think, I've always said, I'll say it once, I'll say it 100 times. If you're in seasonal work and you're really worried about the money, maybe this isn't the right type of work for you. You can find jobs that make some good money, especially after you have a couple seasons under your belt. Honestly, if you're really worried about the money, I would recommend like a serving position, because servers always make the most money everywhere you go as far as like entry level. Servers make good money. So if you're really worried about the money, serving is probably where you need to be. Other than that, a lot of times I don't even look at the dollar amount. I just look at the job, the location, the different other perks. You're going to be making somewhere in the minimum wage, maybe $1.50 over. Just accept that and go for the location, go for the experience, and you'll be able to save a few dollars on the side if you do it right. So don't really worry about the money. That'll come. If you stay in the seasonal game long enough and you really want to do this whole seasonal work lifestyle, you can strategize till you can get in a job making some decent money. I know some people that were just started out a few years ago and now they're like in upper management at locations, year-round positions, making like way better money than they ever would have made, in the real world trying to go up the ladder. Seasonal work is a great place to quickly move up the ladder if you want to. I don't even want to be on the ladder. I'm loving just being like at the bottom rung of the totem pole at my current job. But anyway, that's my last tip on that. Any other questions about seasonal work, please leave them in the comment box below or hit me up on my various other social media. I answer questions there too. I'd love to hear about anyone's first seasonal job, or anyone who's thinking about going out. What will that be? Winter 2018 is the next season. Anyone who's thinking about going out, where are you going? How did you find out about your job? Anyway, I'm Tim. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.